just wanna live. God protect me.
This is I Said What I Said special edition. I'm Nicole.
Hey guys, I'm Ariel.
I'm Eugene.
And I'm Anastasia Washington. I said my whole name.
So my I said tonight, in dealing with race relations that are going on in the U.S. would be that I'm just tired. I'm really tired. I'm overwhelmed, and that's basically, I mean, as a Black woman, that's all I can say about what I see depicted in the media. So,
for me, I said what I said would have to be one or two things. One, if you are a friend or have friends of someone of color, then I think it is your responsibility to not only educate yourself, but educate your family and your children, because these are the kids that our kids have to go to school with. And so if they grow up ignorant and like not have the knowledge, then it's going to keep happening and keep going on. And so we're going to be divided. And I just think that it's everyone's responsibility to find out, you know, what they can do, regardless of their shape, their size, their class, or whatever. Everybody has a responsibility to stand up and have a voice and to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And we're doing as much as we can. And I said what I said.
I think for me, my I said what I said is that people are focusing on the wrong things.
Yeah.
I know this huge Karen debate has been going around, and it means so little compared to what the actual problem is. And I think we need to respect and love people of color, especially Black men, and change the dialogue and mythos around them, because I think they should be able to walk down the street as any man would, without instilling these kinds of things happening. And I think that is a societal myth around Black men and respect towards Black men that is lacking. Say what I said.
I mean, you said what you said. I think for me, I think a lot of people are like, what can you do? And it's like, aside from texting and signing petitions and making phone calls, which I think are really important, I think if you have any friends personally, I mean, for me, it's just like checking your friends on things that they say, they don't say, they're not doing, if they're being apathetic. I mean, I think that's really, really important. It's like you have time to talk and like tweet about like a new sweatshirt you got or whatever, like whatever new athleisure wear you had. And it's like, but you know what's going on. And also just really, really checking my friends when they say stupid stuff. Like, oh, that's so ghetto. That's so Black. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like that to me is like, I said what I said. And I'm just really checking my friends, and like any little comment, I'm like, nope, not okay. Not okay.
To piggyback off of your point, like I checking people, your friends and stuff is great. But also like, I know as being light-skinned, I have a privilege with white people that some people don't, because white people are ignorant to the fact that I'm half Black usually. And sometimes I can definitely see situations before they're, perceived to be, I don't know, viewed by a minority, right? So like I was walking down the street of in Hollywood, and this young man was being accosted by his white girlfriend. So he's a nice looking Black man, and he had his hands behind his back like this to not touch her. She's up on him, screaming on him. And a couple of women who were drunk walked by and was like, I'm just going to make sure he's not touching her. I'm just going to make sure that and I was like, I'm sorry, do you not see the actual situation? Like, to say stuff, if you come from a place of privilege, acknowledge your privilege and say something, do something in that moment.
Yeah, I think people are like, because what I feel or what I've seen has been happening, a lot of the recordings are done by other African Americans, are done by other Black people. And if there is a white person around witnessing it, I think even by them jumping in while this is happening could even shift some things a little, because most of the time when it's someone recording it, it's a Black person.
Wait, really quick to
Well,
interrupt,
yeah.
not to interrupt, but if you saw the George Floyd video or whatever, when we panned out, no, there were actually white people there filming it and saying, stop, stop. And it was just like, they
Yeah.
just had no regard.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's one of the
Many.
yeah.
Yeah.
I saw one this morning, and I went through like a plethora of videos like in the past month, and it's so
no.
often that it's outside of someone's home. It's
Yeah.
and their children are there, and their
True.
wife is there, and they're like, what if I do anything, like what am I supposed to do? So it's kind of instilled this fear in
Yeah.
us as a community, and it's like, we should not have, again, I always say, like, it shouldn't be a luxury for us to come home, for any of us to make it to our apartments. We all fucking pay rent, and for us to have that as a luxury is not acceptable. Like, that's our right, despite what may happen in the universe, but
Right.
like, we should be able to come home every day, you know, and not have that as a luxury.
And families shouldn't have to have a talk, and you shouldn't be having to be worried about, especially the men in your life, but also the women, because this has happened to women. But like, I mean, I was from a very young age, like it was instilled in me what happens when you're detained, when you see a man in your life be detained, how you act, and that very young, I had that talk. And I like that movie, The Hate You Give, so much because it actually had that talk, these young kids listening and hearing this talk. Like, the father was like, I'm going to get detained. You're going to see it one day. And this is how I want you to act. This is how I need you to act for your safety. And I was like, it's so real. And people didn't realize that was a talk that people have in their households. And like, it needs to be understood that this is societal. This is something that everybody fears. Like, I fear for my family members.
Right.
I feared for my dad when he was alive. Like, I fear.
I was so terrified. My brother lives downtown, and there was an incident once my brother works out in El Segundo, and most of the time the company goes to like bars and picnics and shit or whatever. And so he had took a scooter, one of those like Uber scooters or whatever, and he parked it, I guess, next to like another plant. Anyway, he had about 15 like cop cars surrounding him. They thought he was trying to break in. And so my mom called, because he called me crying, and I haven't heard my brother cry since I was probably a very young child, you know, young, 6 or 7, right? And I called my mom, and she's furious, and she called the police department and was like, I don't give a fuck who is out there, but I'm gonna tell you where he is, because he dropped a pin. And she's like, I need you I want to talk to your sheriff, I want to talk to your I want to talk to your supervisor, I want to talk to detectives, because if something happens to my motherfucking child out there, it's gonna be me, and it's gonna be another fucking Rodney Kinney once I get to Los Angeles. And she went off, and they were like, oh, the dispatcher was like, ma'am, I don't know what you're talking about. She was like, oh, I'm staying on this fucking phone until you find my goddamn son. Because if there's 15 cops, so I had to have my friend who is mixed and another friend who is white. They went and brought my brother home. They went to the scene, and there was like 15 cops there, just because they thought he was in the car crying. And he was like, I don't know what they want. Like, we were all out like by the bars. I just took a lift, like a little thing back to my car, and they thought he was trying to break into this plant, but he like worked across the street. And so to have that, it's probably, I think that's the greatest fear that I live with, is having a late night call, you know, because it has happened, not to my personal brother, but to friends and other people's brothers, and it's like I that's my greatest fear, and that's not something we should be fearing, you know, at all.
So let me just address some of the things we're talking about. We're talking about the George Floyd. We're talking about the incident in New York. New York, where the lady called the police on the black man who clearly wasn't doing anything and filed a false report, and she hasn't been arrested or had anything happen. The Canadian woman, let me also say that, because she isn't an American citizen. And then we're
She
talking
did
about
lose her job, and they took her dog.
Yeah.
exactly. And then also the two people who reported that the crimes they committed were done by African American men, which was the youth pastor who was caught trying to get a prostitute, and the woman who pushed her autistic son into a lake in Florida. And so just like all those things just piling up at this time, it's just too much, and it just shows the divide of like privilege and non-privilege in the US, and it's just becoming very overwhelming. So I don't know if you guys want to do towards the end of the show or now just a moment of silence, but I definitely think we need to do a moment of silence, because to watch that video like Monday at 6:00 in the morning of literally a man who died during the video, because there's no way you're going to tell me he was alive when the ambulance got there.
Paramedics got there.
Yeah, because what I noticed was they took his pulse and they did not do any life-saving measures at any point on the video. They put him into the ambulance and they drove off. And so for me, what I noticed is if they didn't roll him over, he probably wasn't breathing. If once he got on the gurney, he probably wasn't breathing. That man literally killed him on that video. So we definitely need to do a moment of silence and recognize, like, at some point it becomes too much, and it seems like one of the people who was videotaping was a 17-year-old girl. And you have to recognize, like, I like the idea, Eugenia, that your mom called and said, I need you to go find him. And I think that might be our next step is, like, I wish like one person would have been like, you know what, I'm gonna call the police on the police.
Yeah.
Because at some point videotaping them's not doing enough,
I will say the grocery store clerk that was watching the situation did say that he was thinking he was going to call the police on the police, but he didn't know what to do.
Well,
and it's hard. It is hard. But that was like the one thing my mom used to tell me is, if you think anything's going wrong, ask for a sergeant. You can always call the sergeant. And I mean, so many times not so many times I've been pulled over, but I have been pulled over.
Yeah.
I requested they bring their sergeants, because either I thought I didn't think it was necessary, or I thought, I needed more support or whatever. And it is something you can do, but it also becomes also an issue of fear, because are you calling someone who's going to help you? Or are you just calling more reinforcements for them?
Well, there's a couple of like major issues with that, because I could tell you right now, I know some police officers that are corrupted. And so it's kind of like, okay, that these are supposed to be people that are supposed to be protecting us, right? Mm-hmm. I was pulled over down the street from my house, and the woman was like, she said, ma'am, what do you have in your trunk? I said, what do you want me to have in my trunk? What do you want me to have in my trunk? And I said, I'm on the way to work. You're making me late. I've been nice to you. You've had me here for 30 minutes. You have no reason to pull me over. There's nothing wrong. And you're asking me about something in my trunk. This is after I had been through all the other shit. And I'm like, so what do you want to have? Oh, okay, ma'am, I'm just gonna run. Okay, because guess what? My uncle is a lieutenant. So let me, oh, okay, what's his name? I could give you his card, but if I reach for it, are we gonna have another problem? And so I know that sometimes my mouth does get me in trouble, but at what point do we say that we're not supposed to ask questions? We're not supposed to ask all of these things. Like, I let somebody in my house and was arrested. Like, at what point do we say, hey, I'm asking you for these things and that's wrong? Like, I shouldn't be afraid to ask for your search warrant. I shouldn't be afraid to ask why I'm getting stopped. Like, I shouldn't be afraid to ask, one, because I'm a Black woman, whether I'm light-skinned or not, and it doesn't help. But at the same time, it's like, I shouldn't be afraid to just ask those normal questions. And so is this something that people are saying we should insure the police officers? Because if you start insuring police officers, then they're going to take more protocols into like how they act and so forth. Is it that we shouldn't have all these people carrying guns? Like I don't even know. Again, there's so much corruption in the law. Like, where do we start? Like, what's the baseline of where do we start? Where do we start?
I think it has to do with society's view of society has beaten down America's beaten down a whole group of people, okay? And they refuse to believe that it's still happening, but it was completely and totally a societal break of a people that is continuing to happen today. And it's the view of them, it's the respect for them, and that is what, like, you can say all you want, you can post pictures all you want, but if you don't respect where they're coming from and acknowledge that there is a faulty system, none of it will change. So first we need to acknowledge, then we need to freaking train these guys that are going out there to have the same care and respect and love for the people all across the board. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But that's just everybody. It's everybody. I mean, like you were saying, you were running off the names of people.
When you also look, you know, because now a lot of people are posting the contrast of, you know, like white people who have committed crimes opposed to black people who are accused of crimes, and just the difference in treatment. Of course. You know, like the one white boy's thirsty and they're giving him water. This man is begging, like he was called for his mom. A 57-year-old man on the ground begging for his mom, you know? And it's like, at what point do you have enough respect to just get up and check and see if he's okay? You know, and you couldn't have been too afraid because your hands are in your pockets.
It's not even
your
fear.
Hands are in your pocket.
It's not even fear. It's respect. Like that, we lost somebody running down the road. He was jogging and people tracked him down and shot him. Ooh.
We lost her. I was like, she'll pop back in.
Yeah. But you know,
it's like,
you hear what Shameik Moore said?
No. What?
He said not everything is racist and we can't blame everything on the police, and that we have to start acting a certain way when we are detained, and some of it is our fault when we're...
Who is Shameik Moore?
Yeah, I was like, who is that?
He is an actor. He was in he's in Wu-Tang Clan and American Saga, Spider-Man.
Oh, I know. Was he in the Get Down?
He was in the Get Down.
Yes.
Well, he just gonna get out of here and get down and shut up. Gone.
That's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy. I gotta look that up. But I also think too, a lot of it is like cops holding other cops accountable. And I think that's where it's kind of like in that whole mentality of like, am I a snitch? Am I a rat? Am I this? And it's like, you know right from wrong. You know what I mean? And it's like cops need to hold other cops accountable. And that's just, you know, you could say, what was that quote? It was like, there may be 1,000 good cops, 10 bad. But if 1,000 good ones don't do anything, there are 1,010 bad cops, you know?
Right.
Well, I definitely even want to say, because I know I've watched body language and I've watched demeanor of cops when they're watching their, you know, their peer, like step in and say something. And so I think like there needs to be some training, and it might need to be accountability training. But like, for example, I know at my job, like what we decided to do is if someone looks overwhelmed when they're doing their job, you switch off. So maybe in that moment when you see someone doing something, it's not that you're telling them you're going to stop. It's just like, let's just look at what it might look like if I just take over right now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we definitely need cops to step up for other cops, you know, when other cops are just bad behavior. Also see,
because the problem is they know that you're videotaping and they know they're not being held accountable, so they don't care. They don't care to stop.
Yeah.
Because so many of these people see, like, they see the cameras in their face and they're just like, no one's going to hold me accountable for anything I do at this moment. You know?
But
so,
even after it happens, I want to see police be like, yo, I wouldn't do that. And I tweeted this guy that tweeted the other day, and he's a cop, and he said, there's no need to see more video. There's no need to wait to see how it plays out. There's no need to put a knee on someone's neck for 9 minutes. There's no need there is a need to do something. If you wear a badge and you don't have an issue with this, turn it in. And this is a cop. Like, that's what we need. More cops saying that. like
Mhm.
saying I don't act like that. I will check these guys that are acting like that.
Yeah.
Like, otherwise I can't check a cop.
Why is
Yeah.
another cop? Did you guys see? I think Ti posted today. There was a young man arrested and he was getting punched, and I guess it was the mom or something, but she's like, he has a spinal injury and a neck injury. He wasn't resisting. He wasn't doing anything, and then the cops were steadily punching him on the ground, like
No.
punching him, and they were like,
Watch this
he
video.
he literally cannot move anymore. And so I'm like, like at what point, there's cars driving by, at what point, I think my mom raised us to be so vocal as children because my mom grew up with nuns and whatever the nuns said was right. So, and so my mom said, hey, if my kids feel uneasy, she was at the school like this. There was a racist teacher. She got her fired, okay? Because she separated us, put us in little groups. And I went to a majority white school growing up, Catholic. And she was like, these are the people that are going to make it past high school. These are the people that won't make it past elementary. These are the people that are going to make it to college. And I was in a world of my own. So she just put me up the highway. But literally, I told my mom what happened. My mom's phone was blowing up off the hook. Like, what are we going to do? Because she basically had the Hispanic and Black kids in one area and, like, put one Black kid over here for college or maybe high school and said stuff like, you may get pregnant and all this stuff. So my mom marched her ass up there and raised hell. She was fired effective immediately. And I think when we educate our children as, like, Black children as our rights, and like what we can do and knowing exactly, hey, we all need to be educated in our history and how we can move. If we can move as a culture together, I think protesting is important, but it's not solving the issue, because it's turning into more, if it is turning into more violence, like we're going to be in an uproar. I saw something that said July 7th was like blackout day for nobody to spend any money at all. If you support us, if you're Black, because African Americans and people of color make up more than half the economy when it comes to spending.
But it's tough because people don't follow through. You know what I mean? And that's another thing.
Well, even on top of that, one day doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you're going to do blackout day, you need to do a blackout month. Like
100%.
a day does not matter. Like they don't decide to kill one person one day. Like you need to like give the equivalent of what you're getting, and I think that's part of the problem. It's like, we really need to push whatever these things are that we're trying to do. So giving a day is great. I get it. But if I'm just going to give a day, that means tomorrow I'm going to spend twice as much.
Yeah, but also, what does
that
do? Like, what does that?
It does nothing.
What does it change?
It does nothing.
How about change it to support Black businesses only on that day? Like, do that. You know what I mean? Like, every time a Black business is attacked, only support. Like, Honey Pot was attacked for having a commercial on Target, right? And I'm like, I don't even want to buy anything from Honey Pot, but now I do. Support that community instead of these Black. I don't understand what that's going to change. The thing is, it's the mentality, it's the respect. Right. You're not going to change that by not buying stuff on Amazon for a day. I'm just
right, because he's chilling. He made money.
Exactly. I think it's a lot too. I think it's important that teachers need to start like I wish we could put that video up with the kids and, in camp or whatever, and they're just like take the step forward. I think it's really important then for teachers because parents aren't going to do it. You know what I mean? Some parents definitely aren't going to do it and don't understand. So I think it's like, if it can be integrated into schools in some way where it's like you're teaching kids young things that you don't pay attention to or realize that like when you get older, you're like, oh wait, that was blatantly racist. Like I didn't realize it then, but it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, changing maybe some of the curriculum. I mean, I haven't been in school in a very long time, but when I was a kid.
What? You're young. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, it was just yesterday. But I remember, my parents were both very big activists in the 60s in the civil rights movement, but I remember learning about the civil rights movement in school and learning that Martin Luther King was a good guy and Malcolm X was a violent blah 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 blah. And my
Not, you know the truth, right?
as soon as my mom, they were like, by the way, no. Like, and change
Not
all.
what happened.
But these are, you know, they're people that are listening to this and don't get the other side, you know. So change the curriculum. And pitting people, you know, like, oh, this guy was violent and this guy was good, and only, you know, like this guy, you know, like it's pitting people against each other. It's pitting a movement against each other, and I think it starts young.
And
You know?
Anastasia brings up a good point, because I think we also need to change language on social media, language in the news. All that needs to be changed, because I think somebody was finally saying like the victim, or, you know, like they called the guy in New York, what's his name, Christian. They called him a victim. And it's like, finally, like that's what we need to start doing. We need to start pointing out all these instances and scenarios as clearly as they are, you know, and then even recognizing like we just had civil rights movements, but many of those people are still alive, and
Right,
they're still going through trauma from all the things.
Yep.
And like we as their children are now like living through a lot of this, not over, you know. So we need to recognize like we're still going through the same thing, and it's ridiculous because it's 2020 and we're still fighting the same victimizations that our parents were fighting, that our grandparents were fighting, that our ancestors who were brought over here were fighting. And it's just ridiculous. Like we're tired. So like people are saying they shouldn't be out there rioting and they shouldn't be out there doing all these things. And it's like, well, what do you want them to do?
Right. That's the
Like
thing.
at what point do you want
When will you listen? Like what will make you change? What, you know, it's not calling you a Karen. Okay, we got that. You're upset. What is it exactly?
Her name is Carrie, Becky, Sunshine, Melissa, Joe Day.
But here's the thing. Why do you care? Like,
Right.
Listen, I used to go by Stacy, okay? And do you know how many times I got teased for Barbie's little sister, Stacy, and Stacy's mom has got it going on? You are doing it for a cause, okay? And if you're not a racist Karen, who cares? Take one for the team. Like, just take one for the team.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. Like, I don't care. And like, people can't just call out actions as easy as every white person can. They just can't. And if calling them a Karen under their breath helps, then fine. Because they don't have the privilege to be like, you're a racist, I'm calling the police on you. Like, you do. You know, like, it's just not the way it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. So the one thing I do wish we did more as African Americans is recognize what our rights are. So if someone is filing a false report, then we file a report against them, you know, or we file a lawsuit against them. Like, it sounds annoying. It sounds like, you know, nothing might happen, but I feel like something, like, we need to start giving what we're getting, you know. And I know we have issues with law, and I know we have issues with believing the people on the other side. But if we start flooding like police stations and we start flooding courts with all these nonsensical, you know, things that are really, I mean, honestly, if Christian, he doesn't want to do it, but if he wanted to, he could go file a report against the woman, you know. He probably won't, but he has that right.
I mean,
he has that right.
Police can file something against her for false reporting.
Well, the fact that they haven't is just ridiculous.
I called 911 as a kid, and they come right to your house. I called 911 by accident because my mom. My mom's number at work used to be like 119 or something, and I think I was yelling at my brother and pressed 911, and I got somebody, and they asked me like 1,000 questions, and the police came, and I was like, I was just trying to call my mommy, and it was in the summertime. But they were like, ma'am, do you know what happens when like you call falsely to the police? I was like, well, I didn't call. She was just talking to me. And I kept asking for Rosemary. I said, but where is Rosemary? My mom was like, damn it, Mariah. But anyway, like, I think one, educating each other to know what our rights are, you know, and educating our youth is very, very important, because a lot of the times we aren't thinking like that. A friend of mine told me last week, if you are only said to, if you're not even promised to live like past 18, then at 16, then like they're just going to be rebellious. And what else are they living for if they don't know that their life is going to be past 18? You
Mhm.
know? And so for somebody to say, oh, I not only graduated from high school and I survived to make it to my 18th birthday, that is, I don't really think that people really settle in to know the effect of what that has on a person. And
Mhm.
so he was like, if someone told me that I was going to make it to 35 years old, would I have necessarily gone into the army at 17? Would I have necessarily like not gone to school or went later in life? Like he's going later in life. He's like, if I was set up differently as a child or told I am going to make it past this, I do have the opportunity to do this,
And I
then
have value
and I'm valued and I'm loved from like not just my mom, but my mom may not have time to say it because she may be working 4 or 5 jobs. And this is just like maybe the over extreme. But again, I think loving on our children, loving on our youth, loving on each other, you know, it starts from with us because like you said, Anastasia, if we only bought from Black businesses, if we only empowered each other, huh, the economy would be real lost because you know we don't get a lot from other people. We don't get their fashions and their music from other people. So and their food. But if we just fully invested in ourselves, in our community, I think we would start to see like a shift.
And if people want to do something to help, do that. You know, say
Reactivate the green.
Support a business, do something, you know. I don't know. It's just sad. It's just, ugh.
Yeah, it's been an interesting. I can't believe you watched all those videos. Like as soon as I saw it, I was like, well, I know the end result. You know, I don't need to watch it. It's just it's hard. It's hard. It's like enough on my.
They had to go through it. You know,
I'm just like, oh yeah.
they
But
had to
these
go
videos,
through it. And I
one
just,
after the next, though. I'm like, oh.
I don't
It's
know.
scary because this week has been, I think everybody is mourning. This week I haven't been able to get shit done. I mean I am, but I'm not. But like I think we're all in mourning, and as women that either all want to bear children or have nieces and nephews that may have a drop of Black in them or a lot of Black in them, you know, for us to hold those children and our babies and know this is what they're facing is
Mhm.
It's scary.
fine. And I think
I mean, and just for yourselves, because like some of these people aren't doing anything. It's just basic everyday stuff like leaving their house, you know, and that's just scary.
Yeah, they're not
like
doing anything. They're just living their life. They
Yeah.
should be allowed to live. And you know, you know, to everyone's point about our parents going through this and already, I remember a couple of years ago when Trump got voted in, my mom was just crying hysterically, and I was like, what's going on? She goes, I already went through this. I already lived through this. I don't want to live through this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. We already fought for this. I don't want to do this. And here we are. It's just getting
and actually that's what we need to do. We need to vote.
That's 100%. I hate people like, oh, he's not great. I'm like, less of the two evils. It's like, come on. It's like,
No, yeah.
This got to vote.
Everyone has to
start.
Yeah.
But the government is so
Because-
damn corrupt. That's my issue. The government is corrupt.
And it very much is, but right now the thing that's winning is racism.
100%.
I mean,
we have to be
there's
at the
not a
top
party.
without condoning anything. You have to, you know, it's like, and what he's instituted and the people that he's put in place, because people aren't even voting locally. And it's like, that's so important to vote locally. People don't, you know, it's just, that's my piece on voting. But I think 100% this election is so important because our person at the top right now is just destroying us on it in every way,
He doesn't even make sense about what's going on. He doesn't want to make a statement.
It's very,
They're worried about Twitter.
sad. That's what he said. Very, very sad.
Exactly.
And it's more than that. I need it to be more than that. I need him to.
We're gonna look into it. We're gonna look into it. It's very sad. We're gonna look into it.
Well, I'm gonna attack Twitter.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, somebody needs to smash your phone, okay?
So I want to just go around really quickly and talk about maybe what self-care things we're doing during this time, because I know you talked about how you've handled this week, and I can tell like Ariel's like struggling. But like I just took time to be okay with not having to rush into my day, you know, to just be. And I got off social media for the day because it was just too much. And of course, I saw myself like reaching for it, but I told myself I didn't want to see the post, and I should have done that for the whole week. But acknowledging that it's okay to be overwhelmed and taking time for myself and getting off social media was kind of my self-care thing. So
I guess my self-care thing is completely different than yours because I've been stirring up shit. But with a smile. Most of the people have been like, well, that's great that you gave me that point, and I'm sorry that I'm like, I never saw it from your side. I'm like, yeah, but
yeah.
So I've been stirring up shit. I've been working out a lot.
That's good.
Yeah.
I have not been working out at all this week.
It's just so much there's so much angst inside of me, and like, you know, exactly. My dad is no longer with us, but it brings up a lot of memories of me seeing some very traumatic shit happen with him in front of me, and so I need to work it out. I just need to.
Yeah.
I need to move. She needs to move.
I've been a ball of tears, crying, a mess, and then I will probably eat something, then take a nap, then call my mom, then call my brother just to bother him. He's like, okay, you shouldn't get off the phone with me. Text people that tell him I love them. And then I was like, you know what? This is why I'm still in LA, because God could have moved me a long time ago. I'm still in LA because I am working on like certain projects that I think are important for culture, and it's not just about me, but it's like, oh, I need to tell these stories to make sure that people see it from this perspective and know that Black is so beautiful. We're so fucking beautiful. We are like, y'all, we are so fucking beautiful, and just all of us, every shade, every color, every size, and know that like I have to keep going, not for me, but for like my children and my children's children. That's what I've been trying to tell myself.
Yeah, and I'm ready to make some more Black babies. Let's do it.
You gotta want to date first. No. I mean, not necessarily. Not necessarily. I think for me, I just, like I was saying earlier, like I have to take a break again from social media and like looking at all the posts and not watching videos, like some of these videos. Like I see it, I know what's happening, I'm gonna stay informed, but it's like I just don't need to see like a man's last breath leave his body. It's just too much. So that, and then just like I have to walk. I just do my walks. Like I just feel like, all right, I make a great playlist, pop my earbuds in, and then I just like go for a walk, and it's just like to be part of nature and breathe and just, you know, that has been sort of what I've been doing to kind of help with all of it, because it can be super overwhelming.
Yeah. I was just reminiscing to the days when we were all staying at home and nothing was happening. Like no one was getting hurt, no one was in the street, and I kind of miss those days. Like we were complaining, but everyone was safe, and I kind of like wish that time was back. So I don't know if we want to end with just a moment of silence, and then we can leave with the young boy singing the song. Does anyone know his name? You know, I know.
I feel like
so we're going to do our moment of silence. We'll leave you guys with the song that impacted us. And this has been I Said What I Said.
I'm a young Black man doing all that I can to stand. Oh, but when I look around and I see what's being done to my kind every day, I'm being hard to this prey. My people don't want no trouble. We've had enough struggle. I just wanna live. God protect me. I just wanna live. I just wanna live.